Good morning and welcome to this amazing E-Hive day of fun and information and lots going on. We'd like to welcome to the stage the High Sheriff of East Sussex, Jane King.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Jane King. I'm the High Sheriff of East Sussex at the moment. I was appointed by the Queen on the 1st of April for a year. All the counties in England and Wales have a High Sheriff. That's 55 counties. And there have been High Sheriffs for over 1,000 years. But the role was very different back then. One of the duties was for High Sheriffs to collect taxes, and if they failed to get enough taxes, they had to dip into their own pockets. So as you can imagine, that was not a very popular role. Nowadays it's much more like days like today, thanking and supporting people who work on behalf of our community for the good of us all. More especially, my role is to support and encourage everything to do with the judiciary. So that's the police, courts, probation, anything you can think of to do with the judiciary. Out of it. And agencies involved in crime prevention, particularly for young people. I also support all the blue light services and try never to forget the RNLI, and charities and volunteers within the county. I'm lucky to be able to get out and about. My two predecessors were very restricted due to the COVID restrictions. So my mission in my year of office is to get out and about as much as possible, seen by as many people as possible, remind them what a High Sheriff looks like, what a High Sheriff does, and to encourage and support and thank everybody in the county for very often work that nobody knows about. They do it very quietly without looking for any praise or thanks. I'm delighted to be here today to open the very first Eastbourne Climate Coalition, a 3-day event covering a very wide variety of subjects and exhibitions, all relevant to the current climate crisis. And there's something here for everyone, I understand. Electric cars, electric motorbikes, electric bicycles, a beer garden, a food zone, and a children's play area. Also in the E-Hive, there are many, and this is the E-Hive, isn't it? Yeah. There are many presentations from energy companies and climate campaigning groups. I can see all around. More and more people are becoming aware of the need to do something about the climate crisis. We here in the southeast are well aware of the problems of lack of rain, rising temperatures, rising seawater, amongst other things. And this event is an excellent way of drawing together people of all interested parties to work together, to have a louder voice and to make a difference. Many congratulations to the organisers, and I hope you have a wonderful 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, that was really lovely. Andrew, can we introduce you next? Come and talk about the many projects you are involved with.
Welcome everybody. Thank you very much indeed for coming along this morning. And a special thank you to High Sheriff for coming along today. It's really wonderful to have you kicking off the proceedings for us. It's very special indeed. Thank you so much. And I noticed you mentioned that you especially want to thank people who have who work behind the scenes, as it were, doing all sorts of jobs that are very often not appreciated or not very public. So I think that's a very important point you make, because this what happens at festivals like this is that a lot of people work very tirelessly in the background, especially volunteers. I mean, we're all volunteers here. This whole E-Hive has been put together by volunteers, and it's being run by volunteers. So it's really a triumph of the local voluntary community coming together to put on this E-Hive programme. And it's really a lot of people working very hard in the background for nothing at all, not just to put on this E-Hive, but to put on a whole range of community events throughout the year, to actually help bring the whole community together across Eastbourne to come together to deal with the challenges of climate change. Because obviously, I won't go on about climate change in depth. You all know the fact, you all know what's happening. But the only way we're going to deal with it as a community is to come together as a community. It takes all of us. Because climate change affects all of us, it's going to take all of us to help deal with it. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we can't stop. I mean, we're going to feel the effects of climate change one way or another, but what we can do is engage in positive action, positive change, in order to turn our community into a much more resilient, much more sustainable community that's able to adapt and deal with the challenges of climate change. And the challenges are many. And fortunately, you know, this town had an enormous range of talented people, an enormous range of resources, community resources. And so my job, actually, by the way, I'm Andrew, and I'm one of the directors of the Eastbourne Eco Action Network, which is really a social enterprise that is aimed at trying to help facilitate this cross-community collaboration, because it's going to take all of us, local businesses, local councillors, local council officers, local community groups, local social enterprises, everybody come together. And what I and my colleagues try to do is try to facilitate that collaboration in whatever way we can. But the Eastbourne Eco Action Network is just one member of the Eastbourne Climate Coalition, which is a much bigger coalition. It's really a coalition of over 40 community groups and businesses. I think the last count we've got to 44, is that right? 44 groups all coming together. They first came together at COP26. Because you remember COP26? Yeah. Seems like ages ago now. But that was COP26 brought a lot of the community groups together, not just locally but nationally and globally. Here there was a COP26 coalition that came together to put on a big climate march and rally during COP26. But after COP26 finished, obviously we all knew that that's not the end of it. We've got to build on the momentum of COP26 and see what we could do as a community from then on. So we formed the COP26 coalition, morphed into the Eastbourne Climate Coalition, and as I say, there's now 44 groups coming together. Many of them are represented here today in the E-Hive and amongst the school out there. And what we want to do, the first project we decided upon as a coalition was to create a climate emergency centre. Because there's actually a growing movement nationally of climate emergency centres being set up all over the place. There's one in Seaford, there's one in Lewis, there's one in Guildford. They're popping up all over the place. Now, what is a climate emergency centre? It's simply a place like this E-Hive. It's simply a place where people come together and share and talk and discuss how we can all deal with the climate emergency, whether on an individual level or on a community level. Because as I said before, it's all about collaboration, it's all about coming together, all about sharing ideas, all about sharing resources, all about doing what we can, not only as a community, but also to influence those with power, whether it be our local councillors or the government, you know, coming together to see what we can do to deal with the climate emergency. We are in a climate emergency. In fact, Eastbourne Borough Council, back in July 2019, actually declared a climate emergency. And it was unanimous. Every single councillor agreed to that climate emergency motion. And the big challenge, it wasn't just a declaration, it was actually a commitment to deliver a carbon neutral or net zero town by 2030. Right, so it's not just the council committing to make itself carbon neutral by 2030, but actually making the whole town carbon neutral by 2030. It's obviously a very ambitious target, but we're not the only one with that target. There's other towns in East Sussex. Lewis has got the same target, Hastings has got the same target. It sounds incredibly ambitious, but in fact it's absolutely possible. It's absolutely doable. And in fact we have to try. We simply have to try to do what we can. Because every bit counts. I think that's the main message we want to get through over the next 3 days, is every single action counts. Every single thing we can do counts. There's simply no time to waste or push. But the other message we want to get across over the 3 days, I think, is that the flip side of all this activism, if you like, the flip side of all this community work, cross-community work, is that we actually make life better for everybody in the town. Thank you. Tom's drying that very fast.
It's very warm in here.
Yeah, mine. Yeah. So the good news is that all the things we need to do to tackle the climate emergency are things that actually make life better for all of us. You know, because if we can reduce, for example, carbon emissions from road traffic and get more people onto bikes and walking, then there's less air pollution, cleaner air, and we'll start engaging much more in healthy exercise, and therefore the health problems are reduced overall. But the co-benefits of climate action are absolutely huge. So, you know, in the process of actually dealing with the climate issues, we're actually creating a better world. You know, we end up with cleaner air, healthier soils, more local food growing. I'm a big fan of more local food growing because one of the things about climate change is that it's damaging a lot of our international food supply chains. So in the future, we may face getting a lot less food from abroad. So we actually have to think about growing a lot more food locally. And one of the things I find fascinating, how many local community groups are creating wonderful community orchards or community gardens. It not only creates a lot more healthy, fresh local food, which we can distribute to places like food banks or whatever, it also creates a lot more pleasant environment, more pleasant green spaces for people to enjoy, especially with being able to enjoy the shade of trees. And in fact, one of the things that's going on at the moment is that there's volunteers across town planting tens of thousands of new trees and looking after them. So that's something that we'll be talking about here in the E-Hive on Sunday. So it's so many brilliant initiatives going on, which in the end make life better for everybody. And in fact, tomorrow there'll be an eco fashion workshop. So we've all heard about the cost of living emergency. We need to try and cut down the cost of buying clothes. So the eco fashion workshop tomorrow will show how we can upcycle and recycle old clothes into beautiful new fashionable clothes. So there are lots of practical things we can do that help us save money now, but also have a huge climate impact. Because I don't know if you're aware, but the fashion industry has a huge, absolutely colossal carbon footprint. It's also got a colossal water footprint as well. So anything we can do to reduce that footprint has got to help. I just want to finish really by saying that it's incredible to have you all here today. It's incredible. All this we've put together is just a couple of months. And we've got a really exciting programme coming up over the next 3 days. And it's not just all talks and presentation, there's lots of music, there's lots of singing. We're mixing it up. So the aim is to have as much fun as we can, as well as to get some really, really important messages across that what we can all do to deal with the biggest crisis of our time, which is obviously the climate crisis. So I'll just leave it there, and thank you indeed. Thank you again.
Thank you, Andrew. And as we can all agree, it's getting quite warm in here, so we're going to reconvene at 12 o'clock when Beth's going to join us.
Yeah, hi everyone. That was just the opening ceremony of the E-Hive. We're down here in Prince's Park for 3 whole days, from 11 in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. They're jam-packed full of free events. Children's workshops, music, fashion show, the singer-songwriters. Really, there's so much for you to come down. Please come down. Bring your friends. It's free, it's sunny, and you might help, I don't know, raise the bar, raise the message about the need to take action, because there's a climate emergency and we can all take action and, I don't know, see what we can do about it. So get down here if you can. Bye for now.